What do you say? What do you know? It's the full Monty Sports Show. It is Sunday, September 6th, 2020. I am your host, Monte Perez, aka the Sports Whisperer. You can follow me on all sorts of social media on Twitter, MontyJP231, Facebook, and on Instagram, Monty Perez2. That is spelled with an E, not a Y. I want to thank everyone for tuning in. We had 33 states last week watch the full Monty Sports Show. Happy Labor Day weekend. Thank you for taking the time out today instead of being at the beach or at the barbecue to tune into the full Monty Sports Show. The goal is to do this 5 days a week, and I can only do that with your help. So if you like sports and comedy, definitely repost this video throughout the week. Send it to your friends, send it to your family, and please keep the comments coming on the top right-hand corner. It's our way of being a little bit more interactive with our fans. If I don't read them on the air or if I don't post them here on the screen, I just want you all to know that throughout the week, I look at them and I read each and every one of them. So thank you so much for being a part of this. We have the best guests each week from all over the country, and this week is no exception. In about 20 minutes, Eric Scharf is going to join us to talk about the Lakers, who are down 0-1 to the Houston Rockets, and also the Dallas Cowboys. And then Ori Hicks is going to join us. A lot to talk about here with the transition of the Philadelphia 76ers. And also is going to talk about the Philadelphia Eagles, who I think are in good shape to win the NFC East. And then, of course, at the top of the hour, the fan favorite, the one, the only, Rico Show Me the Money Graziano joins us to talk about fantasy football. A lot of people are having their drafts today and tomorrow on fantasy football. He'll also talk about NFL roundtable discussion like he does every week. So you definitely want to stick around for that. It is always as George Lopez starting us early. Cool as the other side of the pillow. Thank you, George. Appreciate that. Listen, guys, let's start the journey today with a continuation of last week. Now, last week, I gave you part one of a story. This is part two. If you didn't see it last week, shame on you. Shame on you. Don't ever miss the full Monty Sports Show. It is must watch. But this is part two. So real quickly, I will recap for those who missed part one. And by the way, I'm so proud of this little picture that I picked out here, part two. I was showing people throughout the week. I think it's really cool. So last week, my friend Suds calls me. He has a weight problem. He's married to his wife, who's a yoga instructor. She's has participated in many Ironman contests. So he texts me and calls me and tells me that he needs to lose weight. So I spent about an hour writing him a workout video. Not a workout video, workout program, and I sent it to him. I also sent him some YouTube videos for him to follow and work out, right? And also, right after I did that, I went to my ex's house for a Sunday dinner. She has 6 uncles. They're all married. Her parents were there. And her uncle was saying how he was so upset that Grease has now went bankrupt. And I said, of course, the Broadway play Grease went bankrupt. Of course they did. Because Olivia Newton-John and John Travolta did it so well in the movie, no one wants to see the play. Obviously, he was talking about the country Grease, epic failure by me. Okay, so now you're caught up. Let's get to part two. So my friend Suds calls me. We call him Suds because he loves tap beer, and he says, come to my house. It's been about a month since I sent him the workout program. I go to his house, and he opens the door, and he's literally bigger than I've ever seen him. So I look at him, and I say, what the hell, man? He's gained about 20 pounds since the last time I saw him. Like my brother Pete says, if he gained any more weight, he would turn into a complete circle. So he invites me into his man cave. I sit down. He says, "Do you want a beer?" Normally, I don't like drinking beer, but like I said, he has the best tap beer. The Pilsner glass is always chilled. So I have a beer, and he says, "Before you take a sip of that beer, I want you to do me a favor. I want you to walk with your feet. Obviously, you can't walk without feet, and count the steps to my new recliner to the tap beer." So I do it, and I said it's 9 feet for you to walk from your recliner to the keg. So he said, "So how many yards is that?" I said, "It's 3 yards." He goes, "So it's 6 yards round trip." I said, "What are you getting at?" He goes, "Okay, when I called you a month ago, I was so upset because I was watching the NFL Network, and I'm sure my friend Andrea is going to love this highlight." He said, "I'm watching an old game on NFL Network, Devin Hesser's 92-yard touchdown return in the Super Bowl against the Indianapolis Colts." He goes, "Before they kicked this ball off, I got up and I walked 6 yards round trip to get a beer." He goes, "By the time I got back to my seat, not only did Devin Hester score, they celebrated his touchdown. They went crazy, the entire team. The field goal unit came on and they kicked an extra point." He goes, "I'm Eeyore." I'm like, "What the hell are you talking about?" He goes, "Monte, it took me all the time in the world to walk 6 yards in the time it took Devin Hester to run 92 yards and the field goal unit to come on and kick." He goes, "How slow am I? How lethargic am I? I need to get in shape." So I said, "Okay, have you been working out?" He said, "No." I said, "What happened to the workout I gave you?" He goes, "I got a new recliner and I have a solution." I said, "Okay, what's the solution?" He goes, "I have a refrigerator now in my recliner like George Costanza, and I don't have to get up to get beer." Wait, wait, wait. This is your solution? Becoming lazier. He goes, "Yeah, I spent $900 on this recliner. 900 bucks. Now I don't have to feel bad if I get up to go get a beer and I miss like an 80-yard touchdown pass because I'm slow and lazy." This was his solution. This was the guy who's begging me to work out with him, write him workout, send him YouTube videos. His solution was to be lazier. Yeah. This is why when he contacts me, I tell you people I don't have empathy because I've seen this too many times. I finished my beer. I had to go back to my ex's house. It's been about a month since I was there for Sunday dinner, and I left him with these words. I said, "Suds, I love you, man. You're a great friend. You've always been nice to me, but your wife is going to leave you." I was like, "If you don't get in shape, her whole life is yoga, mini marathons. She's going to leave you." He's like, "I'm good, dude." He's like, "Even if she does, I got the dream recliner. I've made it." He's equating making it in life to having this recliner. Okay, so we're going to get back to Suds, but now I go back up to my ex's house, okay, for the Sunday dinner. I haven't been there in a month after I uttered the Greece phrase. So I get there and she says to me, the first thing she says to me, no one's there in the house. I'm the first one there. Her uncles or aunts aren't there. And she says, "Did you bring your overnight bag?" And I said, "Yes, here it is. It's a Green Bay Packer leather bag that I used to have." She wanted me to sleep over. Now, normally I wouldn't sleep over, but she promised that she was going to take me somewhere on Monday, and her 2 kids were with her ex-husband for the weekend. So she looks at the bag and she gets annoyed. She says to me, "Is that the bag that reminds you of your ex-girlfriend?" And I said, "No." She goes, "Yeah, you told me that bag reminds you of your ex-girlfriend because she got it for you." I said, "No, she didn't buy it for me. It was a joke. It's a leather bag." I said, "It reminded me of my ex because my ex-girlfriend was a Jersey Shore girl and her skin was like leather from tanning 24/7. It was a joke." She didn't get it for me. So she says, "Okay, well, that's good because I don't want anything that you have to remind you of your ex-girlfriend." I said, "Really?" She said, "Yeah, because that's disrespectful towards me." And I said, "Oh, would that be like having 2 kids? And every time I see your kids, I see your idiot husband?" I mean, you're talking about a bag that doesn't even remind me of my ex. You have two kids. Every time I see them, I see your idiot husband. And she says, are you calling my ex-husband an idiot? I said, yeah. She goes, that's disrespectful. I said, oh, you mean the guy who you call 3 times a week because he doesn't give child support? The guy you have to beg to take your kids? That guy? She says, yeah, he's not an idiot. And I said, well, I think you have to look up that term because obviously you don't know what an idiot means. And she goes, no, I think I do know what an idiot means. I'm dating one. Oh my. I couldn't have even gotten mad at her for saying that because I thought it was funny on the outside. But on the inside, I'm like, oh, I guess we're playing prison rules, huh? I guess we're playing prison rules. I said, well, you might not be dating an idiot that much longer if you keep having this attitude. And she says to me, we'll continue this argument later. Now, nothing turns me on more than when you're in the middle of an argument and she wants to stop and continue it later. Oh, yeah, I have something to look forward to. And let me just be perfectly clear. Okay, let me be perfectly clear. I will spend any amount of time with a woman when I'm dating them. Okay, I'll give you an example. This one ex of mine was competing in a mini triathlon. So I worked at my restaurant until 11 o'clock, got home at like 12, picked her up at 5:30 to drive her down to the Jersey Shore so she could be there at 7 and do this thing. Went back to work at like 1, worked till closing, and then we hung out till about 2 o'clock. I just don't like sleeping in the same bed with anyone. It has nothing to do with the woman. And here's why. When it comes to 2 o'clock, I'm like the bartender at a bar. Closing time, you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. That's how it is. And it's not so much them, it's just because I sleep with like 17 pillows. I have 3 pillows that I use for my head. I have a body pillow. I have a pillow on the right, a pillow on the left, and a pillow on my feet to make up for the lack of love in my life. What are you hugging the pillows for, Monte? What pain are you in? Tell us. So we're in this argument, right? We're in this argument, but dinner's going well. People are drinking, having a good time. The uncles are not, really being too mean to me. Everything's going perfectly. And then, of course, I had to ruin it. So her mom, at the end of dinner, brings out these 2 plates. And apparently these plates were the family most prized possession. These plates were brought over by their great 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 grandmother Gloria, who at 11 years old came to this country by herself, and she brought these 2 plates and she saved these 2 plates, and they've passed it down from generation to generation. So when I heard that these plates were from the 1800s, I said something that was kind of innocent, but when I said it, you ever say something so stupid that the words are coming out and you see them like a cartoon and you realize when those words land, it's going to be like a bomb and people are going to get hurt by it? I said 1800s Antique Roadshow. You know how much money you could get for those plates? Now, her mom snapped at me and said, Monte, we're never going to sell these plates. These plates have been in our family for centuries. When she was 11 years old, she had to fight a gang of street toughs to defend these plates they were trying to steal. Street toughs? What? What decade are we in? Are we going to go to a speakeasy afterwards? Street toughs? Who talks like that? But I couldn't say that because I already said something stupid. But I've never heard the terminology street toughs in any movie that wasn't reminiscing the 1920s and 30s. Okay, so they hang up the plates. The uncles go sit down, smoke cigars. And what do I do to make myself useful? I start washing the dishes. I'm like, let me clean up. Let me offer something that is, contributing in some way. So as I'm washing, and it was the most dishes I've ever seen in my life. As I'm washing these 10,000 dishes, okay, my ex comes in, and as soon as she walked in the door, one of the plates breaks off the wall into 1,000 pieces. She looks at me and she says, "What did you do?" What did I do? Hello, I'm washing dishes. I didn't do anything. The plates are 20 feet away from me. I'm in the kitchen washing dishes. What are you talking about? Her mom comes in. Her mom says, "What did you do, Monte? How did you break the plate?" Again, her uncles come in. Everyone's blaming me. Now, listen, there's one of my favorite movies of all time called The Warriors. And in that scene, a guy gets shot. And Cleon, the leader of the Warriors, is standing there. And everyone starts blaming him. And Cleon says, "Man, I didn't do nothing." But it didn't matter. About 20 people start beating up Cleon because they think he did it. Now, they didn't physically hit me, but the looks on their faces, they all thought I broke this plate that was from 1800, which I didn't. So my ex starts crying. Her mom starts crying. My ex is like, "What am I going to do? She promised both her kids they'd each get a plate. They've talked about this for years, and now the plate's here and they can't replace it." So again, I'm a former comedian, people. Don't judge me. I'm trying to make light of a very bad situation. This plate that was been in their family since the 1800s is now broken. So again, I say something which was so stupid, but I just couldn't help myself. So I said to her, "Well, if you can't decide who to give the plate to, maybe give up one for adoption. Maybe like modern day Sophie's Choice." Now, for those of you who haven't seen Sophie's Choice, she has to give up one of her kids. And this is how I'm trying to alleviate the pressure. Now, my ex says to me, "Wait, what?" Now, guys, I say this all the time. When a woman says, "Wait, what?" grab your keys, grab your phone, grab your wallet, and go to a hotel for 48 hours. Because what she was saying is, "Wait, I want to stop time right now because you can't be this stupid." Now, look, I don't pretend to be the toughest guy in the world. I've gotten into several fights. I've taken martial arts. I try to take care of myself. But I will say this, after saying, "Give up one of your kids for adoption," if her six uncles grabbed me and literally threw me out of a window, I wouldn't have fought back. I wouldn't have fought back because in every way, I said the wrong thing not once, but twice. And they still think to this day, even though I was 20 feet away, that I somehow broke this plate. That I somehow broke this plate. Okay, now that is part two of the story. And we will have part three and we will close it out next week. We will close it out. So you had part one, part two, and part three. And now let's get to the good, the bad, and the ugly. So let's start the good, and let's, of course, congratulate. Let's congratulate Serena Williams. She did something that I never thought would see possible. Surpass Chris Evert for most singles wins in U.S. history. I grew up watching Chris Evert, Martina Navratilova. So this is an amazing feat by Serena Williams. She's done a tremendous job being a tennis player over the years, role model for her kids. And I don't know if you saw, there's a meme going on Twitter right now where her daughter's waving to her during the match. She comes over, gets water, and waves to her daughter. Such a great moment. So congratulations to the greatest, not just female, the greatest tennis player of all time. So that's the good. Now, let's get to the bad. So, Alvin Kamara was holding out this week. Okay, Alvin Kamara, the running back for the Saints, said he wants more money. And the hatred and vitriol on social media was like, "Oh, this honor the contract." Let me just explain something to you. I've lived in 6 states. I say this all the time. I'm loyal to my friends and my family. Okay? I'm not loyal to a job, and NFL players should not be loyal to their owners because the minute their play starts to decline, rightly so, they trade them or they void their contract. Alvin Kamara wants to get paid. Why do people cheat? Why do people leave jobs? Because they don't feel appreciated. They don't feel special. Alvin Kamara is one of the top 3 running backs in the league. He sees what Christian McCaffrey is getting. He sees what Derrick Henry is getting. Alvin Kamara wants to get paid. Now he's back in camp, and I'm happy for that because I picked him on my fourth overall pick in my fantasy football draft. But don't be upset about Alvin Kamara trying to make more money, because every one of us would leave our jobs if we were going to get paid double, triple to do the same thing. So good for Alvin Kamara. Hopefully he gets paid. Hopefully he has a great season because I need him to win fantasy football. And now the ugly. So we start the good, the bad, and the ugly. So Kirk Cousins said this week, Minnesota Vikings quarterback, that he wears a mask to protect others, but he goes with the survival of the fittest. If he dies, he dies. Now, Kirk really doesn't believe in the survival of the fittest because he is 5-25 against winning teams. So when the competition gets better, the survival of the fittest, Kurt, you're 5-25. You play like you're sick. You play like you're sick. Now, we had some great fans on social media tweeting at Kirk Cousins after this ignorant statement. Jess Kelly put, I'm glad he wants to play, but my word, we have miseducated the public if a 30-year-old professional athlete thinks he's in danger of dying from coronavirus. Kirk Cousins has a better chance of finally reading a free safety. And our friend Jared Milligan, bad man Bates Buck, said, don't worry, if Kirk Cousins gets coronavirus, he is unlikely to spread it because no one can catch anything from him, especially if it's past 4 p.m. Kurt has a losing record in prime time. And one of the things that is just so funny, I don't believe in looting, I don't believe in rioting, but Minneapolis rioters and looters left Kirk Cousins' jersey when they took everything else in the store. So that really much shows you, what Kirk Cousins is all about. A professional athlete saying he doesn't believe in wearing a mask. You can't make this stuff up. So there you have it. The good, the bad, and the ugly. We're going to get Eric, but before we do that, we love doing this throughout the show, and I'm sure let's surf the crowd. All right, let's see what we got here. Yes, Warriors, definitely. One of the classic movies of all time. They've been trying to make a remake of the movie The Warriors. If you haven't seen it on Twitter, I'm on Twitter. If you haven't seen it on Netflix, definitely check it out. The Warriors is just a classic movie from the 70s and 80s. Keep the comments coming. Yes, Cliffhanger, it's another one. And yes, Kamar is a top 3 back. So thank you all for keeping the comment coming. I knew my friend Andrea would love, let me show that one more time. I knew that she would love the Devin Hester touchdown return. I knew she would love that because diehard Bears fan right there. So we're going to bring on Eric Scharf right now. Let me get this Bears thing off before people get annoyed at me. Eric, thanks so much for joining the full Monte Sports Show. How are you today?
Great. How are you, Monte?
I'm doing good. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you great.
Okay, Eric, we're going to start right now. Anytime someone comes on the show, we often like to put something up there that makes them feel comfortable, makes them feel happy. To me, growing up, this is the greatest Laker of all time, Magic Johnson. Do you agree or do you disagree?
I absolutely agree, even in the face of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and that unstoppable hook shot and Kobe with every possible thing he could do. Magic has always been a player, even in retirement, he's always been a person who can step in when he needs to and back off when he needs to, put his teammates, his employees of all his movie theaters in position to succeed, or back off and let them flow. And it was just pure magic, for lack of a better phrase.
A lot of people say Kobe Bryant, he's got 5 titles. The one thing I say about that is with Kobe Bryant, when Phil Jackson left, Kobe Bryant never got past the the second round of the playoffs. He was only successful with Phil Jackson. They had several losing seasons. Magic Johnson went to 9 NBA Finals, won 5. So I think Magic Johnson, you can't argue there's so many great Lakers, but I think Magic is by far, when I think of the Lakers, I think of Magic Johnson first.
Yeah. And even if you push a little further out and go back to when Magic returned following his stepping aside because of becoming HIV positive. When he came back, you still saw him take a team that was less than. He had the flopper. I forget his name.
No, he had a bunch of guys who went on to other teams and they were never successful. It was just like a misfit group.
Yeah, but he was still able to make something more of absolutely nothing.
And
So
I'll always remember the All-Star game when he came back from HIV and played in the All-Star game and won the MVP. So we're gonna get to that. First we're gonna get to the Lakers. We're gonna get to the Cowboys, but let's stay with the Lakers for a second. So talk about Game 1. Eric, I did something that I never do during a playoff game unless it's a blowout. Midway through the third quarter, I said this game is over. I said I'm not going to watch because I'm just going to wind up screaming. The Lakers coaching staff played Rajon Rondo for 30 minutes. Rajon Rondo has not played a game since early March. And the thing that gets me so annoyed is, and I was afraid of this when he came back, is Alex Caruso and LeBron James when they're on the court together, they have one of the highest plus minuses, meaning if they're they outscored a team by 20 points. So their plus minus would be 20 when those two are on the court. Rondo can't guard anyone. He made a couple shots, turned the ball over, and LeBron James said this 3 times. ABC caught it once. He's looking over when Rondo's on the court, and he's saying to Frank Vogel, there's no spacing. So talk about Game 1, what you liked, or if there's anything, and what you didn't like.
Yeah, unfortunately, Game 1 was almost a carbon copy of what the Lakers did in Game 1 against the Trailblazers previously. They started off fast. They got themselves a 7-point lead, which is really nothing against a team like the Rockets with their pinpoint three-point shooting around the arc, almost no matter where they are. But they couldn't maintain it. They had crisp passing, shooting. The defense seemed to be instantly smothering just for that first part of the first period. And then it just fell off. They could not bring it back, even though they were down 6 points to end the first half. They just, it's hard to tell with this team if they're sluggish or when they're faced with more than 1 or 2 shooters, they just can't wrap their head around it.
No, you bring up a great point because that happened in Game 1 against Portland. Like they just look slow, they look lost, and then they turned it around. Now, I think with that coaching staff, with the likes of Jason Kidd and others, they'll try to make an adjustment. But give us 2 or 3 keys to this series because I've been telling people from day one, I don't want to play the Rockets. I don't want to play them because it's a bad matchup. You're seeing Milwaukee right now in the East. Miami's up 3-0, and I'm not going to say Miami's a much better team. It's just a horrible matchup for Milwaukee. This is a terrible matchup for the Lakers. Just talk about the keys to the series.
Yeah, well, if the Rockets want to maintain this, and I would prefer to see the Lakers do it, but if the Rockets want to keep this going, they have to keep up the pace on their motion offense. They're making the Lakers dance. Wherever they are, you have to switch, you have to trap, you have to double, and it's going to be exhaustive. And they show that the Lakers couldn't keep up in Game 1, just like.
Well, you saw that in the fourth quarter. They were getting drive, kick, drive, kick. I mean, even Russell Westbrook had a wide open 3 at the end of the game. He's talking trash to the family members there. I don't know what the hell Russell Westbrook is doing. Shut your mouth and play. You've never won anything, but he's cursing at the family members of the Lakers. Like, what are you doing, Russell?
Absolutely. And by the time the Lakers finally revved up the trapping and the switching, they were getting caught on ticky-tack fouls. When you can't catch up, it just happens. You put yourself in a spot where you just can't catch up. Second key, if the Lakers can, again, wake up and play 48 minutes of really solid defense, it's got to start with the defense so that then they can give themselves better shot selection, and they can also prevent the Rockets from collecting all those second opportunity rebounds. Okay.
It's amazing how effective the Rockets have been. They don't start anyone over 6'7", and how they've been such a good rebounding team because during the regular season, they got their butts kicked on the boards, and rightly so. You don't have anyone over 6'7". And one of the things that Eric and I talked a little bit yesterday that really annoys me is when LeBron James gets the ball in the post, when Anthony Davis gets the ball in the post, okay, they're holding the ball. They're holding the ball. Make a move and go so the defense can't get set.
Yeah, they look just like Charles Barkley.
Yeah.
And you had 2 or 3 Lakers on the perimeter looking like disinterested Jungle Book vultures. Feed me. I'm not going to move around. I'm not going to cut. You had Harden at the top of the key on the other end, having 2 and 3 players continuously cut in, and he could dump that off rather than have to rely on his step back three. So, yeah, the Lakers have to do that. And then finally, the thing that we're kind of dancing around here, they have to have more firepower. They've got 3 or 4 people on the bench who in spots have shown something. You've got Kyle Kuzma, poor guy. He gets throttled by fans and prognosticators alike. For 4 years now, he's shown promise intermittently. He just has been unable to be consistent except for on the defensive side. But they need his firepower. And he's one of the few people now we see who's got a great hesitation move on offense.
Yes.
That hesitates him from scoring, right?
Eric, so this is what I would do if I'm Vogel. Anthony Davis is your center. LeBron James is the 4, Kyle Kuzma. You put Alex Caruso at the point, and you have Caldwell Pope because he can make shots. Honestly, if Danny Green's not in the corner, he's not making shots. So Danny Green, I want to have guys who can shoot the 3. I want to have guys who could do it off the dribble. Danny Green's not going to do it off the dribble. So my question to you is will they go small in the fourth quarter? Do you think the Lakers make the adjustments? Who do you think wins the series and why?
I think the Lakers have no choice but to make the adjustments. We're also looking at Dion Waiters, who can also hit that streak. Danny Green, I don't know if they can do more with him. He's more often resembling Dennis Scott from his last dregs with the Orlando Magic years ago. Okay, if it's not stop and pop, you've got nothing. I think that we're going to see more from Dwight Howard.
Who's played really well off the bench.
Yes, absolutely.
Accepted his role, done a nice job.
Yeah, but the Lakers are simply going to have to produce more points from their bench. Alex Caruso is going to have to be given more time and manage to not get caught with his hand in the cookie jar so that those 5 fouls won't happen again. You can't lose a guy like him.
So who do you think wins the series?
I think the Lakers are going to magically hold on for a 4-2 victory. I would not be surprised if it went another game, if it went 7, just because of sloppy defense and sloppy mistakes on the Lakers' part.
Yeah. No, listen, I hope so. I did not want this matchup at all. I'm petrified and it has nothing to do with the Rockets. James Harden said something. I don't care if a guy's 7 foot, he has no heart. James, you disappear in every big game. So what are you talking about heart for? So I hope I said this at the beginning of the playoffs. Anthony Davis, there's no reason why there's not one team in the entire, maybe Bam Adebayo, if they both get to the finals, who could slow him down. There's no one in the West. He should score 35 and 15 every game.
He should. But I can see where Harden is maybe directing that comment at Davis, because he's a 2, but he's not a Scottie Pippen 2, who's going to always be full on that dog like Jimmy Butler is.
Right. No, that's a good point. All right, let's move over to the Dallas Cowboys. Listen, our good friend Greg, obviously diehard Dallas fan. We've been trying to get him on the show. He works on Sunday, so he misses it. Let me get you a little Dallas Cowboy background here for you. Walk me through this because it drives me insane.
Yeah,
Patrick Mahomes got $450 million. The Seahawks re-signed Russell Wilson when he said, "I might move to New York." And instead of the Cowboys, Carson Wentz got paid. Okay, Russell Wilson gets paid. We're seeing all these quarterbacks get paid. They franchise tag Dak Prescott. Isn't that telling me that Jerry Jones doesn't believe in this guy?
Yes and no. And I'm loath to defend Jerry and son Steven when they're doing this stuff and always trying to mind the salary cap store for years in advance. They had their chance, and they acknowledge they blew their chance at signing him a couple of years ago, 2 years ago, right after Wentz and Jared Goff got their money. They could have pulled that off, would have been fine. No one would have complained. Prescott bet on himself, pulled off a great 2018, then came back and had a good first 3 or 4 games against iffy teams. Then the performance dropped off with help from his receiving teammates, who dropped some, depending on who you talk to, up to 30 passes. Okay. The defense fell off, which then puts more pressure on the offense. And while he had these great numbers, it's always about how and when with me. who did it come against?
Right.
When did those points and those yards and everything come against? So then they get this opportunity in the offseason to sign him up. They offer him what I thought was an appropriate deal. What was the missing ingredient? You heard all about it. They wanted 5 years minimum. He wanted 4 years
They
minimum. In
wanted
some kind, but then when you talk about the money, he and his agent, you can't blame them. They knew that by 2022, the new CBA was going to come into
But
play.
here's the thing. Here's what doesn't make any sense.
Mhm.
With like I think like 2 hours left, they try to say, okay, we'll take that deal. So like they kind of like Dak Prescott, he was
Yeah.
bluffing, and then they called him out on it, and then he had nothing to show for it.
Yes, he deserves a little kick in the teeth for that too. Okay, it was one thing for he and his agent Todd France to say, "Hey, we want some of that money that's coming. You put in clauses if you want that trigger that money for performance. Fine, but put that in. Otherwise, we're not going to go to 5 years. This thing's going to stall out, and we're going to wait another year. He's going to bet on himself, and while he's got a new head coach, the system remains the same with tweaks." This is all about whether Kellen Moore, the offensive coordinator left over from the Garrett regime, is going to get a chance to breathe. And if Dak really knows that system back and forth and is going to take on this chance to really expand whatever he can do, kind of Aaron Rodgers style versus following the playbook to a fault, you were going to see him deliver again this year.
I think a lot has to do with why they came to terms with the franchise is you have a new coach in Mike McCarthy, the former Green Bay Packers head coach. And I think Mike McCarthy wants to see what he has too. What do you like so far? What don't you like?
Yeah. No, I don't blame that. There's nothing wrong with that at all. You got Mike McCarthy, who in his history started with Brett Favre, who at worst wanted to extend plays that were broken. Then you got Aaron Rodgers, who wanted to just completely rewrite the playbook. I'm being a little pushy with that, but and then you had Mike McCarthy, who won a Super Bowl, showed that he could replace effectively a third to a half of an injured team on the Super Bowl year and really play with what he's got, make what he's got work. But he saw himself in between jobs, showing I've got to reinvent myself. I'm falling behind the curve. I've got this label that says I can't do it myself unless I have an Aaron Rodgers to clean up.
Right. Okay? And we talked about this. He did a tremendous job this offseason. Most people don't know. Mike McCarthy didn't take the offseason off when he wasn't coaching.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't go on vacation. Every Monday, he met with two coaches, and they broke down what worked in every game offensively and defensively, 4 or 5 hours every Monday. He said sometimes we look up, we started at 9, and it was like 6 o'clock. So they were watching every film. I think Mike McCarthy has evolved. I think he's the right man for the job right now. And look, when you're looking at it, and what the Dallas Cowboys have on offense is a perfect situation. You have Ezekiel Elliott, Amari Cooper, rookie CD Lamb, and with Dak Prescott, this unit could be a top 5 offense, correct?
Absolutely. And, lest we forget Michael Gallup, you got fans screaming at you in the background saying, what about that guy? Because they expect him to still be the second until CD Lamb pushes his way through, and he very, very well may do it. But they even have Blake Jarwin as kind of the token tight end who's shown when you leave him alone down the seams, especially against the Giants, he's there to capture that thing. And then you've got Tony Pollard, who is going to be one of McCarthy's favorites as a receiving back out of the backfield. They have too many weapons. It's going to come down to just like it did last year, even with their injuries, they had so many mental mistakes, so many, whether play call or execution, they just could not take advantage of some of the opportunities in front of them, couldn't finish so many drives. This offense, just on personnel alone, should be able to finish so many more drives.
Yes,
of course, I say that knowing that they've been beaten up in the offseason, with no real training camp, with no preseason time, just like all these other teams. They've got some holes that they still haven't been able to fix in their offensive line. One of their right tackle, Al Collins, is going to be, I think, put on short-term IR, which could be a bit. Look back at the game against the Jets last year, where they had both their tackles sitting out, and Dak pretty much got killed for most of the game until almost catching up at the end. They got to be prepared
until the fourth
for
quarter.
that.
Yeah, either that or they all partied in New York City the night before. We don't know. We're talking with Eric Shaw on the Full Monty Sports Show. In about 5 minutes, we're going to get Ori Hicks on to continue the conversation about the NFC East. He's going to talk about the Eagles and the Sixers. Eric, got about like 3 or 4 minutes left. Talk about this defense. What are some concerns?
Yeah. So my concerns are all very similar to what I said about offense, but you kind of got to start backwards with, you remember Rod Marinelli when he was here, his thing is technique and motor drive the scheme, not the other way around. He never believed in fancy schemes or exotic schemes like Rob Ryan, whether successful or not. Don't disguise, just show them what you are. You're going to out hustle, you're going to out technique. Mike Nolan, while he expects best technique and best hustle, his system is designed to disguise, to change fronts every time the quarterback touches the ball. And now that they have made efforts to improve their secondary, losing Byron Jones, time will tell if a guy who showed he either didn't want to or was ordered to not look back for the ball, not go after interception, not even regularly attempted, just swat the ball and make sure that the offense can't move, right? Time will tell if that's a mistake that he left. But
Listen,
you've got
I'm all for what you just said because,
Mhm.
like I said, as the Jets when they had Rex Ryan, it was all just a scheme. It was like the Georgetown press back in the day with
Yeah.
Patrick Ewing. Once you prepared for that press, it was all gimmicks. There were so many holes in that press. If you were well coached and had time to prepare, you beat a Rex Ryan defense. You beat the Georgetown Hoya press.
Mhm.
Real quickly, got about a minute left. The Cowboys always have high expectations, Eric, but they haven't won a Super Bowl since January 28th, 1996. What do you expect from this team? What is a success? What is a failure?
If they don't get in their own way, regardless of what their opponents do, and they've got some rock and roll opponents coming, I think they're good for at least 10-6 and perhaps as much as 12-4. They should at least get to the championship game, or it is a failure. And it's just
Wow. So you have them you have them NFC Championship or it's a
yes,
failed season. Wow, high expectations then.
yeah, and they're going to either prove me right or make me look like the tortured Cowboys fan that I've always
Listen,
been for
I
years.
have the Eagles going 11-5. I have Dallas going 10-6. I think Dallas will make the playoffs though.
Agreed.
All right,
Agreed on
Eric,
that.
how can we follow you? Thanks so much for taking the time out. How can we follow you on social media?
EM Sharf on Twitter. I'm also on Facebook, but I do most of my sports talk on Twitter for sure.
Yep, love having you in the chat groups. Thanks so much for taking the time out. And hopefully, if the Lakers advance, we will have you. We will have you on again to talk Lakers. Thanks
Hope
so much,
so.
Eric. Really appreciate the time.
Thank you. Take care.
All right, that was Eric Sharf. You can follow him on social media. He does a tremendous job of breaking down the Cowboys. He's a diehard fan, along with our good friend Greg. Listen, we're gonna. I've wanted to have an Eagle and 76er guy on. I am a huge Carson Wentz fan. I am a huge Joel Embiid fan. Even though they're not my teams, I root for them. So we're going to bring on Ori Hicks. Ori Hicks TKO podcast, trending with Keisha and Ori. We got to thank our good friend Rafael Colozo who brought us together. Let me get something up here right away just to put you in a good mood, Ori. Let me get.
Yes.
We'll start with this because listen. It was a bad season. It didn't end the way we wanted to. But, I'm just going to put you in the right mindset. Love the background, by the way. Talk about what you got going on in your little man cave there.
Listen. You come through outside of Philly, you're going to see the whole gamut. I don't want to mess up my camera by showing you everything, but Eagles on this wall. Oh, I'm going to show you this real quick. Let me show you. Look at that.
Look
That's
at
Dr.
that.
J, AI, B Doc.
Wow, look at that.
Yeah. That's how I roll, baby. That's how I roll.
All right, let's continue this because
Yeah.
people think I'm crazy when I said this, and I said it when it happened, and no one believed me. This is the greatest play in Super Bowl history. Talk our fans through this. What happened? Is this not the greatest play in Super Bowl history?
I think so because even if you listen to the post game stuff with I believe it was the twin Jason McCourty on the sidelines or one of those guys from New England, like, oh, they ain't gonna do nothing. And then they come out and they're like, oh my God. And then Belichick and the other coaches with the pencil just looking silly, like, damn, they got us.
What was so amazing about that play is they called the timeout. And here's the thing: we know that Bill Belichick is always prepared. Against Seattle, when Seattle had, I think it was 2nd and goal, Bill Belichick didn't call a timeout because they knew the play that was coming, and Russell Wilson throws the interception. They later said on Friday, we practiced that play about 30 times. We knew it was coming. They had no clue that the Philadelphia special and Nick Foles was going to score a touchdown. It's the greatest play in Super Bowl history.
Absolutely. And what makes it even better is that earlier in the first quarter is that they had that little bootleg fake with Tom Brady. He's wide open. He drops the ball, and my man Malcolm hits him on the butt like, come on, bro. And then we kind of run something like that back to them. Oh, that made me feel so good.
No, it was great. And we're going to get more into the Eagles. I have so many questions. Okay, but first, let's talk about the 76ers. Brett Brown was fired. He kind of took a shot at the Philly organization when he said, I coached 102 players in 7 years. So first off, where do the 76ers go for their coaching search?
Well, rumor has it that it's going to be Tyronn Lue. So that's all the reports that are coming out of Philly. It seems like it's a done deal. If that is the case, so I'm just going to go with what the reporting is saying, then you can look at it two ways. Number one, he is a championship coach. He's won a championship. He knows how to get his players to play. LeBron James respects him. So if we have the respect of LeBron James, that says a lot. Number two, he's also with Clutch Sports. So it's Ben Simmons. So now does he say, okay, you know what, Ben, you become the best player. We have to win through you. We know Joel Embiid is solidified. Other than health, Joel Embiid is solidified. Everybody recognizes him as probably the best big man in NBA. If not, he's top 3. So Ben Simmons has to elevate his game and take this team to a championship level. Can Tyronn Lue do that? If they think Tyronn Lue can do that, if they think Ben Simmons, because you got to keep these two together. I know we're going to talk about this a little later, but if Tyronn Lue believes that he can make Ben Simmons the best player, then he's a guy. He's your guy.
No, listen, I don't have a problem with Tyronn Lue. I don't like retreads, but Tyronn Lue, once they broke up Cleveland, they fired him the following season. I have no problem with that. But here's the thing. I think Joel Embiid should be the best player on that team. Okay, against the Celtics, they were outmanned. He averaged 30 points, 12 rebounds. Are they going to break up these two?
I don't think so. I think I don't think you get rid of 2 superstars. I've just never seen that. I've just never seen that in the NBA. You got 2 superstars. I don't think you trade one to try to get some B level type, A type players. You got to figure it out. I mean, you got rid of the coach. Now you got a new coach in here. Please, you figure this out. So I say at least give Tyronn Lue the opportunity to make it work with these 2 guys. After that, then I'm with you. I'm with you, Monty. After that, if he can't make it work, then that's a wrap. But you got to give him a chance to make these 2.
Here's what I'm going to say, and here's what really annoys me about what Philadelphia did this season. Okay, everyone wants to blame the coach. Fine, maybe it was time for Mike Brown to go. Okay, people want to blame Embiid. They want to blame Simmons. Here's the problem I have. Last year, you had Jimmy Butler, who was the number 1 option, right? You had Embiid, the number 2 option. You had J.J. Redick in the fourth quarter, the number 3 option. And then you had, because Ben Simmons doesn't like to shoot, he may have the ball. He was the 4th option. And then Tobias Harris was the 5th option. Well, you let Jimmy Butler go. You let J.J. Redick go. And Tobias Harris, who was the 5th option, is now the number 2 option. How do you expect to win like that? Am I wrong for saying that Tobias Harris is not a number 2, no matter how you look at it?
I agree with you. I don't think he's number 2 player. But here's the thing. I just want to push back a little bit. I think Jimmy wanted out. Some of the reporting I was saying that Jimmy wanted out, that he didn't really know who the leadership was. And then Pat Riley, can drop these rings on the table, send you to South Beach. How do you pass that
Riley's
up?
That supermodel that you just can't resist. Like, we got Miami, you got the life, you got the rings.
And it's your team. Jimmy, you come down here, it's your team. And Philly, it might not be your team. All the guys might defer to you respectfully. It's supposed to be Joel and Ben's team. They are the guys. They are drafted by the Sixers. They were supposed to bring this team back to relevance, prominence, and to that great Philadelphia 76ers basketball tradition. Jimmy Butler was supposed to get in here and solidify. He is the grown man in the room. He's going to teach these guys, you know what I mean? Like, because remember, Jimmy couldn't get along with a whole bunch of people, but for some reason, when he got here, it actually worked with Jay.
He did. And listen, if it wasn't for a Kawhi Leonard shot that bounced and hit up, they might go to the NBA championship, and Jimmy Butler might resign with them.
Oh, this is what hurts in Philly so bad, because we felt like we would have beaten Milwaukee. Like, we felt like we would have stopped Giannis. And then to face Golden State without KD and then Clay getting hurt.
Yep. Listen,
That was ours,
shot,
man.
that shot.
That shot.
Again, I'm not even a 76er quote unquote fan, but when Kawhi hit that shot, a little part of me died inside. I'm not going to lie that day.
You died. I was at work, and we all stayed around, and we're looking, and we're like, oh, just yeah. That's a top five.
I coached college basketball my last year coaching. We lost in the Elite Eight, and we lost in the last second. Every time I was just watching a hockey game with my brother and my dad on Friday, and the game, 7-game overtime, and Dallas wins. And I go, man, that sucks, because you saw all the faces of the team that lost. And people got on Joel Embiid because he cried. I would rather my player cry after a loss than do what James Harden does and goes to the club and dances around and has a good time. Right. At least it shows he cares, right?
I felt that pain. Like, I was like, see, that meant it hurt, and that's what I want. I want it to hurt so bad that you don't ever want that pain to happen again.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how I felt about
it. And listen,
yeah.
Jimmy Butler, like when LeBron went to Miami, it appears that Jimmy Butler made the right decision. Okay, so let's move to the Philadelphia Eagles. What Carson Wentz right here did last year with a bunch of practice squad receivers was amazing. Here's the question. My brother asked me this yesterday, and I said, yes, Carson Wentz is a top 7 QB. Am I overrating him?
Absolutely not. And I'm mad at the NFL players that's top stinking 100 poll. They're not even put him in the top 100.
Not even the top 100.
Are you out of your freaking mind? What is wrong with you people? That man, like you said, took practice squad players, and won the division against supposedly the best team in the division. Supposedly every year they're the best team, they're going to win it. They have the most talent. And he still, when it came down to it, when the money was on the table, forget about that October game that was a blowout. No, the money was on the table in December. That's when it's all about, because that's when teams are really pushing their way to get into the playoffs. So when it really counted, really counted, he elevated his game with practice squad players to be the number one. Most of all their players were healthy. If that does not convince you, I don't know what it is. I understand he's been hurt, but if you really look at it, yeah, he's got hurt 2 out of his 4 years. You know what I mean? That does not take away from his talent. The man has arm strength. The man is intelligent. The man is he's a winner. His winning percentage is very high. Obviously, she's just had bad luck around the playoff time, because he didn't finish the season. But the MVP year, he was rolling.
The year they won the Super Bowl, he played in 13 games. He had more touchdown passes than Tom Brady. He was, and he got hurt by diving into the end zone against the Rams, and he got hit. I mean, it wasn't like he just dropped back, and he was trying to make a play. He was trying to make a play. Listen, I think what he did last year was great. I put the Eagles background. I can look at that background all day. So let's talk about the draft pick of Jalen Reagor. I love the wide receiver, but he's going to miss 2 to 4 weeks. And the speedy Marquise Goodwin that they picked up from the 49ers opted out for COVID-19. So who is the number 2 option behind Zach Ertz? I mean, is it going to be Jackson?
Yeah. It's Deshaun Jackson. Well, I'm going to say this. Between Deshaun Jackson and Miles Sanders. Miles Sanders is going to get a lot of touch. Miles Sanders is going to be the guy. You know what I mean? And Deshaun Jackson is going to help Miles Sanders by hopefully he'll stretch the field. That's why we got those receivers to stretch the field. Now you can't key on them. Miles Sanders in open field is a problem. I'm telling you right now, everybody that's watching, I'm going to tell you, Miles Sanders in the open field is going to be a problem for y'all. He is going to be a problem. So he's going to get a lot of touches. So I'm going to say combined between Deshaun Jackson and Miles Sanders. Deshaun Jackson is my man. I love Deshaun. I know he was upset that he could not play last year. I think he's got a lot to prove.
Listen, in his first game, what did he have? Like 7 catches, 158 yards, 2 touchdowns, and then he got hurt?
You saw it. You saw it. What you could just imagine. So, Reagor, I wasn't really going to depend too much on Reagor. I don't like to put a lot of pressure on a rookie, but so I would say that I think Reagor might be your 5th, because I'm going to go Ertz, Goddard, and I'm going to go Jackson, Sanders, and then I would say Reagor. Not putting a lot of pressure on that kid.
Okay, listen, the good thing about it, if Deshaun Jackson's healthy, he stretches the field. That opens everything up in the middle for Ertz. It's a perfect deep threat with over the middle. Talk about this defense. What is their strengths? What is their weaknesses? I thought they improved this offseason.
I'm a little worried about the defensive line, which has been Jim Johnson's strength. He likes to, he doesn't like to blitz a lot. He wants to get a lot of pressure with that front 7. and give his D-backs, opportunities to make plays on the back end. Big play Slay to me is going to be the guy. When you lose a guy like, first of all, you lose a guy like Malcolm Jenkins, such a great guy, a great team guy, great leadership, was never hurt. He never missed a game. He didn't even miss a snap. When you lose that kind of player, you got to replace him with another savvy veteran guy. Big play Slay, I think, is going to be your guy. Obviously, on the back end, front end is always, is always the big man. Our front four. I'm also worried about Derek Barnett. Derek Barnett, I think, he has to stay healthy. He has to stay healthy. Because we really need him to get pressure on the quarterback. I'm a little worried about Brandon Graham's age, but Brandon Graham's got a lot of motor. So, but with Fletcher Cox, my big man on the front end.
Fletcher Cox is just like the mainstay. He's going to get double, triple team, never complains. He has a motor. I'm not going to compare him to Aaron Donald because Aaron Donald is probably the best, not only defensive, probably the best player in the NFL, but he's got a motor like that. Yeah.
He's right there. He's right there. And he's championship proven. So he's right up there. He's a Hall of Famer, in my opinion.
So, all right, talk about this coaching staff. We talked about the Philly special. One of the things I always bring him up as a Jet fan, Rex Ryan, his first 2 years at the Jets, he was dominant, but then people figured him out. He never evolved. Same thing, you look at Sean McVay, Bill Belichick really exposed him in that Super Bowl. Last year, he kind of got exposed. I think he's going to be better this year. The Eagles won a Super Bowl. And, they had a ton of injuries since then, but has the coach evolved or is he the same old guy? Has he gotten better? Has he gotten worse? How do you like this staff on offense and defense?
Well, I'm going to go defense. You have Jim Johnson. I'm sorry. Jim Johnson. I'm sorry. Not the late great. I wish we had Jim Johnson. But I'm sorry, it's just slipping my mind, our defensive coordinator. He always has that defense playing as best as they can. You know what I mean? So there's really no tricks with him. I think Doug is always willing to elevate. I think that he calls the plays. He's been calling the plays. I think that they're going to do some different things, and I think he wants. Obviously, you saw them adding a lot of speed this year. So obviously, they want to move the ball. They want to score quicker. I think that's what the Eagles want to do this year versus these long, methodical, matriculating drives. I think Doug wants to give you, okay, we can beat you quick, we can beat you with time, and then we can just pound it down your throat and run the clock out. So I think you're going to see a more Kansas City type fast break, which is going to be a little different than Doug has done in the past. I think that's what you're going to see. So he's going to evolve a little bit. He's trying to change with the times.
Right, you're talking about obviously Jim Schwartz, the defensive coordinator.
Sorry.
Listen, he's done a good job. Again, they've been hurt. One of the things that I always find troubling, and you see Andy Reid has done this. He turned over the play calling. You see coaches once they get established and they trust their offensive coordinator, they give over the play calling. Do you ever feel it's too much for the head coach to also be the play caller?
Say that again.
Do you ever think it's too much? Because we've seen coaches like Andy Reid who've given over the play calling. Do you ever think it's too much for a coach to call the plays and run the team with clock management, with defensive situations, or you're fine with him because he's such a successful offensive coach?
I think if you've done it before, it goes either way. Like you said, Andy Reid, he did it and he gave up some of the calls. I think you kind of have to see how the season goes. It's kind of hard to say. I mean, Doug's a good play caller. I have no problems with Doug play. He's very aggressive, and I love that about him. So now, is he going to tell his guy? Well, Doug will always make the final decision anyway. So
it's funny because Jim Fossil, when the Giants went to the Super Bowl in 2000, he took over the play calling. They had the offense coordinator, and then they went to the Super Bowl. So you could really, you could be successful and do it. I just think as a head coach right now, there's so much going on that I wish he would find an offense coordinator that he really believes in, and just, give over the reins so he could manage things, manage more of the game. But you don't think that's a problem?
I don't. It's been working. And I don't think he has an established backup play caller that has a lot of years. I think it's going to. I think it's going to work out. I think it's going to work out.
How do you feel? Listen, I loved what this kid brought to Oklahoma, Jalen Hurts. They got him as the backup. I loved how he went from Alabama and they benched him for Tua, and then he comes off the bench against Georgia and wins the game in the SEC championship game. He never complained. He was the first one in, last one out. He mentored Tua. He goes to Oklahoma, becomes a finalist in the Heisman. They go to the Final Four. They took him in the second round. I love Carson Wentz, but I do love Jalen Hurts. How'd you feel about that pick?
It was a little surprising that they took him so high. And it scared a lot of Philadelphia fans. Like, okay, well then clearly he's next to replace Carson Wentz. Now they gave Carson Wentz long-term deal the year before. Why would they draft him? So you hear a lot of that talk. There's a lot of logic talk. Like you don't do that. You don't pick a guy that high unless you're going to play him. I don't think he's NFL ready quite yet. I think I mean, obviously, I think he's insurance, because you got to have insurance for Carson Wentz.
Will they implement him in the offense like we see Hill in New Orleans, how goal line situation? Will they do that or no?
I think he'll get a couple of plays, obviously. I think he'll get a couple of plays and, take some little plays off for Carson Wentz. They'll integrate him in the system. That's what I'm saying. So Doug is already thinking about how he can utilize them as a special player. Yeah, I think you're going to see a lot of that. Remember, like when Michael Vick first came, when Donovan McNabb was a quarterback.
You mean when Donovan McNabb, when he saw Michael Vick run for 20 yards, he goes, "Cut that out! Stop it! Stop it right away!
Get him out! It's too much. He's too no." And he saw the writing on the wall.
Yeah, he really did. Donovan's like, "Stop it right there! Stop it!" He wanted no part of Michael Vick.
Exactly.
Okay, big question now. Walk me through this. What is your prediction for the Eagles record-wise this season? And then go through Dallas, Giants, and obviously the Redskins, whose front office is in such turmoil. Give us your record for each team in that division.
All right, I'm gonna start from the bottom up. You're right about Washington. New coach, all the turmoil, things like that. I think they max to 5. I think their max is 5 wins this year. I think they get a couple of wins in the division. The Giants, you know what? I'm not sold on their quarterback. I'm just not. I mean, he's good. Danny Dimes pretty good. I mean, they obviously Saquon is the man, but Saquon is just not going to beat you by himself. So
no, but they do. They do have some talent. Slayton, they got their tight end. What's his name?
Ingram.
They got some talent.
Yeah. And so what I'm saying, I think the Giants are going to be better. Giants might get to they could get to 8-8, 7-9. I see them on the high end of 8 wins. Clearly the class of division is Philly and Dallas. And as a Philadelphia fan, of course, I hate Dallas, but I'm going to be objective. My father's a Cowboy fan, by the way.
Hey, wow. Talk about a rebellious kid.
He's from Georgia. He's from Georgia, though, so don't count. So, so I think the Eagles. It's crazy. Already the Eagles have all these injuries, but we've been an injured team for the past 4 years. So I'm thinking they know how to play injured. So I'm not going to say if they're healthy because I'm just going to think the worst case scenario, they're not going to be healthy. So I think worst is 9-7. I think that's the worst. And I think this team can get as high as 12 wins. Cowboys, every year they have all the talent. They do have a coach who won a Super Bowl, but was he that great of a coach, or did he have 2 Hall of Famers? That remains to be seen. Can Dallas rise to the pressure? You know what I mean? There's a lot of pressure. Does the Dak Prescott contract situation leave some bad feelings? CeeDee Lamb.
Do you put any stock into the fact that even though Dak Prescott, in today's standards, he's been starting for so long, he's considered a quote-unquote veteran, but do you put any stock that, look, it's a new coach, they didn't have a big-time spring and OTAs, they don't have any preseason games, where someone like Carson Wentz and their coaching staff have been together for so long, do you think that's an advantage the first 3 or 4 weeks of the season?
I absolutely do. The Eagles, I believe, are the only team in the division where the coach has returned. Everybody else in the division. So I expect the Eagles to really start off. And by the time Dallas catches up, now that it's 7 teams, the Cowboys will probably make the playoffs this year. They'll probably be the 7th seed. I think the Cowboys, I'll say low end 9-7, the same, high end 12 wins. I think when it's all said and done, and this is not really a homer pick. I'm just going to give the Eagles a little respect that I think they win. I think they win this division. I think that those players that did not play last year are going to play this year, and I think that's going to elevate them And I think they come away, and I think they win this division. But it's going to be very close. It's a Dallas and Philly division.
Yeah,
That's the
listen,
way we love it.
I think the Giants are a year away. I think the Redskins are at least 2 years away. But I just want to leave with this because I get so much enjoyment when I see the Philly special beating the New England Patriots with this play. Ori, love having you on. We're so glad that you were able to come on. First of all, I'm going to give you the award right now. You have the best man cave background I've seen on this show. We have a guy, Rico Graziano, come. Oh, that's awesome. That is awesome.
That's my yeah. I won championships fantasy football.
How can we follow you on social media? And definitely down the road, we want to get you on to talk more Eagles. So how can we follow you and support what you're doing?
First of all, thank you for having me, Monte. I really appreciate it. I definitely want to come back. You can find us on a TKO podcast, Trending with Keishan, or you can find us anywhere where you find podcasts. We're also on YouTube. So subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you want to hit me up on Instagram, I'm Director Ori. You can find me on Facebook at Ori Hicks. Yeah, I love talking sports. I'm all about it. Yeah. So definitely TKO podcast, Trending with Keishan, Ori. Go ahead, go and subscribe on YouTube right now. Check us out. And we got to get you on our show, Monte. Yo, my partner, she's tough, man. She's tough.
That's good. That's good. Listen, I like heated debates. As you can see, I had a Cowboy guy on and a Philadelphia guy on. So on the same show. I was going to bring you guys together, but I didn't want it to blow up. Right. And listen, I really believe that the Eagles are the best team in the division. And if Carson Wentz stays healthy, he's an MVP candidate. So we're in agreement there, and we'll definitely have you on down the road. Really appreciate you taking the time out this Sunday. Thanks so much.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
All right, man. Have a great Sunday. Take care.
Yes. Yep.
All right, guys. Ori Hicks does a great job, as you can see. I love that man cave. I mean, I got the Packer, banner, the Ducks banner, but mine is, kind of a work in progress, so to speak. Great job by him. You're listening to the Full Monty Sports Show. When we come back, Rico, Show Me the Money Graziano will join us. Sports and comedy, we work hard on Sunday, so you don't have to. All right, guys. Now, you know that I would not get a sponsor on my show unless I believed in what they were doing. So whether it's your lower back, shoulders, neck, hip, knee, or almost anywhere on your body, BioWave Go is a super pain relief technology that is FDA cleared to provide relief of chronic pain. It is patented 100% drug-free pain relief technology that has been prescribed to over 500 professional athletes. 500 professional athletes. Look, guys, I ride my bike 75 to 100 miles per week. I'm not ready to go to the gym yet, but I have weights here. I have an ab machine. So I need to be fresh. I don't want to be sore. I don't want to have pains. Stop messing around with smelly creams or gimmicks that don't work. BioWave continues to improve the quality of life for many. It works by blocking pain at the nerve with technology proven safe and effective in multiple clinical studies. So you can walk your dog longer. You can play with your kids, your grandkids, play another round of golf, or just run errands, or like me, ride your bike without pain. Look, it works for pro athletes. So imagine how it can work for you. Do yourself or someone you know a favor, someone you love. Learn more at biowavego.com. Try BioWave Go on us with no risk, 60-day money-back guarantee, and it has free shipping. Free shipping. And here's what we're going to do. Use the code BOLTS and order now to get relief from your chronic pain. HSA, FSA eligible. biowavego.com. That's biowavego.com. Use the code BOLTS and let them know that Monty sent you, and I will send you that information again at the end of the show. So get a pen ready and definitely check out their website. And you know what time it is? Yeah, no. Speaking of pains, it is time for Rico. Show Me the Money Graziano. Rico, how are you today?
I'm doing. It's hot. I'm hot. That's how I'm doing. I'm stuck inside, and we got 103 degrees. It's already at 9:30 in the morning. And what is it? 9:10. It's 95 degrees outside already.
And yet you're wearing a full sweatshirt, are you not?
No. yes. I'm wearing a full sweatshirt. That's what I'm
Rico,
doing.
the little different camera angle this week, right? Normally you're centered. This is like off to the right.
Yeah, I decided to go off to the right, get a little light, like natural light on me, better than usual. You know what I'm saying? I was going that unnatural light. I wanted to get a little more, because I can't go outside, but I want to feel like I'm outside. So
I think Rico, I think what's good about you is the darker it is around you, the better it is. More light is not flattering around you or me. And you know how I know this, Rico? You know how I know this? I posted a new picture on Facebook. I got 2 likes, and one of them was my mother.
And I was the other one.
2 people like my new profile picture. Wow. All right, Rico.
You put a picture of yourself? Yeah.
What were you going to say?
I was going to say, don't you love it when you put a picture of yourself and then you check back 3 hours later and there's 2 likes and you're like, wait a minute, what happened?
Yeah, one of them was my mother.
It was too much to give the little thumb push, really, like that. Yeah. Like I didn't go above your approved to push your finger line of liking my post. It was nothing. It was a picture. I got shut down.
Listen, anyone who posts a selfie, I just like it just to make them feel good. I got 2 likes in about 24 hours.
One time I just like to say hello. Like I'll just like and be like, oh, look, Rico's thinking of me. I just like to say it like a shout out. And one time I liked a post I didn't read and it was like a bad post. And then a whole conversation started that day without me knowing of why would Rico like this post? That's so weird. He's such a good guy. Why would he do this? Why would he do that? That's such a whole thing happened to where I had to come on and say, I didn't really read it. I just pressed like. Because it became like a 30 comment thread of why I like that particular post.
Rico, you're getting heckled by the fans. Look at this.
You're not fooling.
Look at this. Prison specs. Wow. Rico, you know what? I like this because
how much I paid for these prison specs.
How much you pay for them?
A lot of money. A lot. More enough that I can't say it without Melissa hearing me and killing me.
Okay, so here's the deal.
$50. Everything's $50 in this house.
Rico, you are very popular. You are very popular. I don't understand. You don't know someone who doesn't have a pool, and all your friends are rich.
Actually, surprisingly, I have one. It's a pandemic. The 2 people I know who have pools are more paranoid than I am about the corona. So it's tough to be. I've been trying to get this thing to where I'm like, hey, how about you leave the pool open between like 3 and 6, and I'll swing by. And my one friend who's totally cool with that and let me come over anytime I want, he lives in the valley. So it's like I'm traveling from 103 to
110.
Yeah. So it's kind of like, I'm at a crossroad there.
Rico, so you paid what, 2 packs of cigarettes for those glasses?
And a pack of ramen noodle.
All right, Rico, let's get right to it.
Lopez.
We have a lot to talk about. So have you watched Cobra Kai?
Not only have I watched it, I watched season 1 in one night. Melissa came out and she said, it's 3:30 in the morning. What are you doing? I looked at her and I started yelling. I said, you're interrupting. I'm on the last episode of this season. Please, I never interrupt your shows. She's like, you have to wake up with the kid in 3 hours. I said, I got him. Don't you worry about that. I got him. It is great. I love it.
Rico, first of all, Ralph Macchio is a big-time Islander fan, and he just posted the Islanders are playing in the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time.
4-0 last night.
So I said, Ralph, you got to come on my show and talk Cobra Kai and Islanders. Actors love to talk sports. You know this, right? So you need to help me get Ralph Macchio on the show. So you love Cobra Kai. Did you watch the 2nd season yet?
No, I didn't. I'm waiting for like that time. I'm waiting to get like good food, sit down, put the kid and Melissa to sleep, shut the lights, and just get all Cobra Kai.
Put the kid and Melissa to sleep. Rico, are we talking about roofies here? What are we talking about?
Xanax, something she don't know about that's going to be in her drink at night.
Rico, the 2nd season is so much harder than the first. The fight scenes, the conflict, and it's funny because you almost see like Ralph Macchio, Daniel-san, and Johnny. It's like they want to be friends, but yes. And this is my point. This is my whole point about this long-winded conversation. So they're still dealing with the demons from high school. They're grown-ass men, and they're still dealing with the high school feud. Is there something that still bothers you from high school? Because there's something that still bothers me from high school, and I'll share it after you.
Well, I think the thing that bothers me is maybe I should have played more sports. Like I played football, but everything else I really didn't care about. I was on the wrestling team, but I didn't really care about wrestling, and maybe more paying attention. Like that's what bothers me. Like, or actually even hitting on girls. Like my hitting on girls didn't happen in high school. Like I didn't have a high school girlfriend. I had a high school girlfriend, but it was like the back end of my senior year. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I never really asked girls out. I was always like shy and quiet that way. Like, really loud one way and quiet the other way. So I think I would have, been more, and probably showered more. I would have did that too.
I was very, it's amazing how things change. We talk about evolving, like, Johnny's trying to evolve in Cobra Kai. Daniel's trying to evolve. When I was in high school, I was shy, and things change. Now they call it stalking, because, I'd watch girls like through, like in the bushes, now it's stalking. Back then it was just, oh, he's shy, he's cute.
It's so original.
Okay. So here's the problem I have, Rico, and this is, you're not going to believe this story, but God is my witness. It's 100% true. So when I was in 8th grade, I had a sister named Sister Mary. Okay. Sister Mary was evil. But the one thing that she would do after every test, she would give out the test and she would give out the top 5 highest grades. So if you got 100, she would say, Joe Smith, 100. So one time, and it was so rare that I got, a high grade. She said, Armando Perez, you got a 96. So I was like, oh, it's the first time I've ever gotten called up as the highest grade in the class. So, and she goes, but what's interesting about this is she's like, you are the only person to get this question wrong. I've never had a class where we give out the tests and one person got one question wrong and the rest didn't. And I was like, well, I find that hard to believe because I'm not going to say his last name. I'm like, because, Alex, who basically eats glue during art class, who's going to be a degenerate his whole life, who's going to be a burden to society. And how did I know a burden to society, that terminology in 8th grade? Because my father has called me that from the time I was 2 to about last week, a burden to society. That's the goal he has for me, to be a burden to society. But I said to her, I was like, I find that out to me. She goes, no, you're the only one who didn't get Pluto as the 9th planet, as one of the 9 planets. You missed Pluto. Now, I saw her 15 years ago at a wedding, and she said, hi, Armando, Pluto. It became like a joke in 8th grade. People, because like anytime someone struggled, she goes, is this your Pluto? Is this your Pluto? People signed my yearbook in 8th grade. Hey, Pluto. In high school, I had 4 losers sign my yearbook and brought that up again. But I found out a few years ago that Pluto is not a planet. So what did I do, Rico? I am telling you the truth. Since I didn't put Pluto as one of the 9 planets, and now we found out that Pluto, there's only 8 planets, there's not 9. I Googled Sister Mary, and I sent her an email after finding her email address on Facebook, and I said, hey, Sister Mary, the joke's on you. I was right. I got 100. Pluto's not a planet. Rico, she blocked me. I wanted satisfaction. This has been bothering me since high school. She didn't even respond.
She was probably like, who is this weirdo and why is he sending me? How does my former student have my email address?
No, because I saw her at a wedding and she came up. She's like, oh my God, Armando. She goes, remember Pluto? And I'm like, if you weren't a nun, if you weren't a nun, God help me.
I swear.
Rico, she blocked me after it took me like a month. Do you know how many Sister Marys there are in New Jersey? There's over 500.
I was going to say, I feel like I had a Sister Mary too.
Everyone has a Sister Mary because they change their name to that when they become a sister.
I had a Sister Mary who was really mean, but for some reason she really liked me and used to complain to the other students, to me, like I was faculty. She's like, I don't know what's wrong with these kids. And I was like, I hear you. I have no idea what's wrong with these kids.
You know why, Rico, she treated you like faculty? Because you would get your food from the deli, and while most kids have peanut butter and jelly, you'd have chicken marsala, veal piccata, you'd have fresh mozzarella.
Actually, prosciutto mozzarella. Back then, they used to make fun of me for that. Nowadays, they wish. They look. My palate was way advanced for a 6th grader.
Yeah, listen, I mean, I'm an antagonist of nuns. Yeah, I was like stalking her.
so George Lopez just invited me to his pool, his parents' pool, just a little while ago in the comments while you were telling the story. Or did he not invite me? I wasn't sure. It looked like he invited me.
It's funny. George has got a pool, and then he's got a pond out back. A pond would be good for you.
Yeah.
I don't think he wants you in your pool.
It's 100 degrees. I'll waddle in a pond in 2 seconds and not even think twice about it.
All right, Rico, let's get to the NFL. Let's get some good stuff here. First of all, the season starts Thursday. When is your fantasy football draft?
I have 1 today, 2 tomorrow, and 1 Wednesday.
How does that work out with your schedule of your wife and your kids?
Well, Levi actually did something genius this year. He jumped me and went right to Melissa, and I found
Smart
out.
move.
I saw on my calendar popping up when my drafts were going to be, and I said, why? Like, I went to Melissa to have a conversation. Like, you can't just give me this time. I'm not sure. She's like, oh, I already spoke to Levi. We set the schedule of when it's good for your draft.
So she's your general manager and travel coordinator for the fantasy football team?
I've become an adult, and I have to ask for permission to do everything. I had like a 30-year window of doing whatever I wanted, and then all of a sudden, I fell in love and thought that it would be better, that I'd have more freedom, and all of a sudden my freedom window went like this.
Well, it's interesting that you say that, because I called you when I said, look, I'm going to do a Tuesday show. And before I said Tuesday show, Rico says, I'm in. And I said, don't you want to check with Melissa? You go, I'm in.
Yeah, well, that was Tuesday night. So I'm in. Well, it's football. It's football and it's you. There's certain people who have certain leeway in this house. And Levi and you are one of the, you're one of the two who I could just be like, well, it's with Monte. It's with Monte, Melissa. And she'll be like, okay, because she's got two too. She's got 2 friends that supersede having to ask certain things.
I'm just going to give you a piece of advice that you may want to.
You're not following.
You may want to take. If I'm one of your 2, you need to not only reevaluate your friends but your life choices.
Boy, because you're for you and Levi.
Yeah. No, Levi's smart. Levi's smart.
He makes me smarter, like you say, Monte.
All right, so. Rico, you always say this on every show. You say the day before football season is like Christmas. Is it more so Wednesday going into Thursday this week because we've had no training camp, we've had no preseason game? Does it feel weird? Because I'm watching basketball, I'm watching baseball. I'm not in football mode yet.
It's so funny you say that. We're having the draft. I've never prepared. It's the weirdest thing because for the fantasy football, we always prepare, we read, but we've been so into it and not distracted by preseason. It's going to be It's the start of the season. I really feel like it's going to be sloppy and a lot of low-scoring games because the offenses aren't going to be tuned in yet, and there's so many different variables of players moving, players leaving on both sides of the ball. You're right. It feels really weird and different that we're jumping right into the season. But you know what? With that being said, with basketball, it took 3 or 4 days of basketball that I got right back into the groove.
Right into it, yes.
But then there's teams like Miami, the Heat, that are shockingly good. They're playing so great that it's, what team in the NFL is going to come out on fire and surprise everybody is what I'm really excited to see.
Okay, along those lines, give us 3 stories that we should look for during the NFL season.
Well, I'm going to throw the COVID thing off to the side. The one story that I wonder is if there's an available vaccine in 3 months, what will the NFL's policy be on that? So I'm not going to even go there. But I think the story is, who's better? Who needed who? Bill Belichick, the coach of the Patriots, or Tom Brady? Which one? Who needed who? Are they both great separately? Are they both great together? Is Kansas City Chiefs? Are they smarter for bringing pretty much the whole team back?
19 to 22 starters, yeah. Yeah,
bringing everybody back, or are they going to show that you need to keep upgrading no matter how good you are? And I think the third storyline is is the NFL okay with just having 2 preseason games compared to usually 4 or 5? Because we're going with none this year. And it's also funny. I was just listening, like the Eagles are always hurt. And I'm wondering, like, is it going to come out in a sense, like, do certain coaches not do something right? San Francisco's always got hurt players.
Jared texts me once a day with a new thing.
Like, are they running camps wrong? No, that's not a storyline. That's more of a nerd storyline, like super nerd storyline. Like, what are coaches doing different in these certain camps that players are constantly getting hurt?
I said to Jared, this happens with the Mets all the time. It happens with the Knicks. And maybe it's just losing culture, but constant hamstring pulls, groin pulls. Literally, Jared is texting me every day because they lost another San Francisco 49er to a knee, a groin, a quad, and they're missing 2 to 4 weeks.
Yeah. It doesn't make sense that it's specifically these certain teams, and maybe that's just their luck. But again, that's a nerd storyline.
Okay, here we go. Leonard Fournette is now in the Tampa Bay Bucks. Is this going to help him for fantasy, or is it going to hurt him? One thing we know about Leonard Fournette, they never really used him out of the backfield to catch a lot of passes, and Tom Brady likes receivers who can catch, who are in the running back.
Well, he's not going to do what he did last year. Fantasy-wise, he might even be one of those guys that you see ends up getting dropped off a lot of teams because people are going to hold him, hoping that there's too many weapons on Tampa Bay, and he's not going to do what he did last year. And last year wasn't good, but he touched the ball 200 times. There's no way that ball will hit his hands 200 times this season, without a doubt. And, there's a reason people got rid of him. His yard per carry last year was below 3, which is not, that's not well at all. People just don't. He's not going to have the year he had last year.
Yeah, he was below 4. He was below 4 last year. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he'll be dropped by a lot of teams by week 7 or 8 because they're going to realize that he's not being utilized like they would like. He'll get a touchdown here and there, peppered in when they're on the 3rd or 4th, 3 or 4 yard line. But I don't see nothing great happening with him.
Okay, so I'm not going to call out Jared here because he knows more about the 49ers than people, but I'm not going to say the 49ers are a winning culture because they haven't won since what's his name went to the Super Bowl, Steve Young. So, yeah, they have 5 rings, but what have they done in the last 20 years? They've been to 2 Super Bowls. They're good, but I'm not going to say that they're a winning organization. Well, Am I wrong, Rico?
No, I agree. I mean, winning culture, does that count? Is the culture of a year? What is the time period considered a culture? Is a culture within a 5-year window? Because if right now they have a winning culture in the sense of a 12-month window. Yes, in 12 months right now they have a winning culture. But that being said, the Eagles had a winning culture. They won a Super Bowl. And guess what? That culture did not transcend to the next season of being, considered winners.
By the way, Jared, I know you're new to social media and everything. You don't have to put LOL after the comment. We'll decide if it's funny or not. But no, listen, and I will say this: he's right. He was right on the 49ers last year. He said they were going to be an elite team, and I think over the next 5 years, with that young defense, they are definitely one of the teams, along with the Ravens, that are young, hungry, and ready to go. Okay, Kirk Cousins of the Minnesota Vikings. I mean, he said that he treats the coronavirus like the survival of the fittest. We know he's not the survival of the fittest, Rico, for 2 reasons. One, he's 5-25 against winning teams. And when the fans looted, Rico, they took everything in Minneapolis except his jerseys. The fans would not take his jersey. Now, have you ever seen that before or no?
No, I did not see that. That's the first time. That actually beats my favorite pictures. And they showed somebody looting. Some lady had two full cheesecakes from the Cheesecake Factory. And then when I went there, I said, man, I was like, that's $100 cake. She's probably the smartest person looting. She's going to go home, eat some nice cake, and be happy and not feel bad in 2 weeks about stealing cheesecake.
Rico, they didn't take his – it's the only thing they didn't take in the entire store. And this isn't in Green Bay. It's in Minneapolis. But let's talk about him. Had a very good year last year. I have another fantasy football draft that I'm doing with Jared. Is he a top 10 quarterback in fantasy football?
No, I wouldn't even say he's a top 15 or top 20.
Really?
Yeah, he's not he's not a fantasy quarterback. There's a special breed. A fantasy quarterback is a quarterback. A good one is somebody who's got a mix of being able to run not only run and throw, but also the ability to have the coach's trust to call his own number. When I say call his own number, that means when they're at the 5-yard line, he goes in the huddle and says, I'm taking the ball. I don't care what the coach says. And he takes the ball and runs it in himself. Like a Lamar Jackson has the flexibility, even at year 3, to call his own number because he sees something. He sees in the defense where he can get 5 yards. And, so that's a big factor in the whole scenario also.
Okay, so more touchdown passes, Kirk Cousins or Matt Stafford in Detroit?
Well, Matt Stafford, just purely because of the way the offense is set up. That's an easy question because Matt Stafford's got they just throw. Detroit throws. They've always been known to throw. I mean, even 50 years ago when Deion Sanders was on Detroit, they threw. They just
You mean Barry Sanders.
Barry
nice
Sanders.
job.
Again, I made that mistake 2 times now.
Rico, do you wait, hold on. Do you agree with this?
Yes, that's why I'm wearing them. I have perfect vision. I'm perfect 20/20. These are just pieces of glass.
Yeah, listen, Adrian Peterson just signed. I don't think he's gonna. I think he's going to be a decent back. But if Adrian Peterson is your featured back, especially since they just drafted, the guy from Swift, who's obviously hurt right now, I don't think Adrian Peterson's going to be the featured back in Detroit. Do you?
I don't think he'll be the featured back, but I'm excited to see him play. There's a thing. We were laughing a story about him. Is that when his kid did something really wrong and he got a little stick and he hit him 2 or 3 times in the butt with it, but he didn't get caught. He came forward for no reason. It was like, I switched my kid yesterday, and it became this whole thing.
Rico, I saw pictures of that. He literally abused the hell out of his son.
No, that was a stock photo of a different kid. I don't think that was pictures of his son. So it became it was a stock photo of what it looked like. Nobody ever actually saw pictures of his son's back, I don't think.
Rico, for the good of the show, have Melissa grab a switch, like your typical Saturday night, and just have her start beating you.
Who says that we don't already do that?
That's what I'm saying. It's a typical Saturday night. The safe word is apple. Okay, Rico.
I don't need apple, so it'd never be said.
The safe word is watermelon. Are you still addicted to watermelon? Are you still addicted to watermelon, Rico?
Yes, really bad. I'm still hitting it to the vein, the watermelon.
You eat watermelon like people drink water.
It's always in my fridge. Matter of fact, I finished it last night. Fresh watermelon coming sometime today. I'll leave the house just to get the watermelon.
All right. So Alvin Kamara was holding out. Now he's back in camp. Is this going to be a problem for me who picked? And you like how I'm totally centering this question around my fantasy football draft because I picked him 4th. Is he going to be productive this year in New Orleans, or is this going to be a problem?
No, I don't think it's going to be a problem, but it's always smart to get what they call the handcuff is the backup to the main player. So in fantasy football, they call the handcuff. It's always smart to get the handcuff to your main running back, but just especially on somebody like him, I would do it. But he's playing. He's in camp. He's not working hard to not. They're really the problem is, and I think he knows that they just don't have the money. They're getting close, but they don't have the money to give what he wants under the cap. So it'll cost them a lot more than originally. If he makes $7 million, they're going over the cap by $3 million. So they actually have to pay $6 million. It's a big financial situation, but they want to keep him. He wants to stay. He'll probably retire as a Saint.
Rico, I say this all the time. The reason why people leave jobs, the reason why people cheat is because they don't feel appreciated. Alvin Kamara is seeing Christian McCaffrey get paid. He's seeing Derrick Henry get paid. Shaquan Barkley's going to get paid. The Giants already said that they want to end it. He's not feeling appreciated right now.
Well, I have a saying, don't count other people's money because that'll really spin you out in a lot of ways, especially in the NFL, looking at, Le'Veon Bell was doing that. He was counting other running backs, Todd Gurley money. And at the end of the day, he held out, lost $13 million. He lost a few $1 million on that holdout, trying to get more money. And he did that by counting other people's money. Know where you're at, know where your job is, know what the financial future of that team is. It's
at the end of the day, Rico, that's why I'm posting this. You said at the end of the day. When we hear end of the day, that means it's time to drink.
It's a hot Sunday and you can't leave your house at the end of the day, at the end of the day, at the end of the day.
All right, Rico, some serious questions here. And I think you and I are going to disagree. What team has a better wide receiver group? Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Mike Evans and Chris Goodwin, Cleveland, Odell Beckham Jr. and Jarvis Landry, or Saints, Michael Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders?
Well, I'm going to go with Tampa Bay because Chris Goodwin and
over Cleveland.
Now here's why they complement each other better. One's a number one wide receiver, one's a slot receiver. Cleveland, on the other hand, has 2 home run hitters. They have Odell Beckham and Jarvis Landry, and they're both right hand swingers. So pretty much you're like they got 2 powerhouses, but they don't have guys that complement each other right. Because you can't throw to the number one receiver, even though they have 2 number one receivers.
Very good point. But wouldn't you say then, by that logic, wouldn't you say that Michael Thomas, who set the record for 149 catches, and Emmanuel Sanders should complement each other? Or are they both slot receivers? That's why you took Mike Evans of Tampa Bay and Chris Goodwin.
Well, I think when you have a guy like Tom Brady, who is, Michael Evans and Chris Goodwin they're not home run hitters in the sense of like, they catch the ball under 20 yards. And Tom Brady is an under 20 to 15-yard thrower. He'll throw the long ball, but very rarely. And he only does that when he's got a wide open, a blown defense. And he doesn't miss those plays. But I would go with Tampa Bay. I would dare to say I would bet on them two getting more catches.
Okay, Rico, Julio brings up a great question. Is this your duo or is this what Levi likes?
Well, me and Levi talked about this, and this is what we both agreed to. There is no one thing that I like and he likes. We have conversations.
But who has the final say?
No, we usually come to an agreement. We usually always come. One of us gives the logic to the other one, and he will try to go on straight numbers, and I'll go on, well, like this one is more towards me. I would dare to say it's more on, but yes, everything that happens football gets run through Levi, and we go back and forth always. Like today, a lot of things happening before 2:00.
Is that what time your fantasy football draft is?
That's our first fantasy draft. We got 2 A+ on practice tests this week, which is pretty hard.
You're such a nerd. Okay, who has the most wins in the NFL? Not named San Francisco, not named Baltimore in the NFL.
The most wins. I would have said. I mean, let's say Kansas City. Why would Kansas City not look like they're gonna? I
thought you were gonna say the Saints because you're very high on the Saints this year.
I'm high on the Saints, but I don't think the most wins. I won't go there. I mean, Kansas City is the team to beat. Like it's always like they, the champ. What do they say? You can't beat the champ. You can't be the champ until you beat the champ.
Exactly. They call me the people's champion, which has nothing to do with anything.
I won't ever be better. I won't ever be a great host until I become a better host than you, which is, got to beat the champ to be the champ.
Okay. Who has the least wins in the NFL, not named Cincinnati or Jacksonville?
Oh, the least wins. Who's not, Washington or Carolina are both.
Rico, Carolina's going to win more than 5 games. That's what Vegas has them on. They are my money pick. Bet Carolina people to win more than 5 games this year.
I think that it's a surprise. Teams don't have much. There's a lot of good guys coming in the draft this year besides Trevor Lawrence, and I don't know. I feel like Jacksonville and Carolina are in the race to get the number 1 pick.
I don't think Carolina is all. If not, they wouldn't have signed Bridgewater. I think Jacksonville is packing it in. But again, we bring people on the show like Jared who are really smart, but then they say stuff like this, and you're like, "What are you talking about?"
Okay, they might get 9 wins in the division. I mean,
which is physically impossible because they only play 6 times in the division.
I was just about to say they technically can't get 9 wins in their division, but they might just clear 6 in their own division. And I know that's a tough thing to do, and they have a tough division. But KC,
I mean, he thinks they're not even going to make the playoffs.
9 wins is not a playoff. Well, you know what? With the extra,
it will be. Yeah,
it possibly will be. 9 wins might be good enough, which is great. I mean,
listen, the way I see it is that Kansas City will win 10 games just for showing up. They're that talented. Okay, they're that talented. But and again, look at this. Look, like what's going on here? There's like a revolt in the chat room with the Kansas City Chiefs. Do I got to bring my mug down from the top?
They They brought a better running back in. I don't get why the
They have.
Rams 6-11. George, you were right 2 years ago. Let's not get crazy. They aren't that good. Can't have every single break on your way 2 years in a row. I don't know. That's coming from fans.
They're pretty good.
Patriots.
You don't pay a guy. You don't pay a guy $450 million like they're doing with Mahomes if you're not that good.
Yeah, if you're not that confident and keep going and then rolling.
Okay, Rico. So you have a fantasy draft at 2 today, and then what's your schedule like the rest of the week? We're going to do a show next Sunday, and then we start our Tuesday night show, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. When is your last fantasy draft, and how many are you doing this year?
This year I'm doing 4 big money drafts, and then I do one with some guys I know out here. But that one is kind of more loose. That we do more experimenting in that one compared to being more logical and more. We go a little bit more with our heart on the one with the people we know. So altogether 5, but 4 are the ones that I think about at night when I can't sleep. That's what keeps me up after Cobra Kai at 3:30 in the morning. What do I do? We have one season. I have one season. What do I do? I have to wait. I mean,
here's the problem, Rico, about Cobra Kai. And again, half the people
don't tell me anything I don't need to know.
No, I'm not going to say. But here's the problem: they haven't filmed since 2017 because it was a YouTube show, and then Netflix picked it up, and it's been trending #1 for the past 3 weeks. So they weren't even sure what they were going to do. But the problem is these kids are getting so much older because they're teenagers, and it's going to be 4 years until they film from the season 2 to season 3. They had the same thing with Stranger Things. The kids are growing too quickly. These kids got to start smoking cigarettes or something to stunt their growth.
They do. Get some cigarettes. It's Hollywood. They've possibly been smoking cigarettes already, and not, you know.
And here's the thing, Elizabeth Shue, who was my first crush ever from Karate Kid 1, is going to come back in season 3 for 2 or 3 episodes.
Oh, that's great. That's great. She's married to a doctor now. She's a doctor.
She's like a special surgeon. So you love Cobra Kai. I didn't see you wrong there.
No, you did not steer me wrong. And you know what? I was like 4 episodes in, and I was like, Monte is a genius. Again, he's proven his genius to me once again.
Well, you know what? Not according to Sister Mary, who, basically was still making fun of me for saying that, because I missed Pluto wasn't a planet. Again, Rico, if you're saying that I'm a genius outside this show just to hype me up, you need to reevaluate, your life choices. I really believe
people are geniuses in certain areas. I know many doctors who are geniuses, but are terrible people.
But they can't function in society.
Things on earth.
All right, Rico, it's that time. That time for Rico's rant every week. Rico rants about something. I never know what he's going to talk about, but it's always hilarious. So, Rico, you have the floor.
Well, here we go. I like to just pick it up as the show's going along. I get some wild ideas of what I want, but I want to talk about passion. I love people with passion. I'm always on board with people with passion, like fantasy football. I'm crazy about it. Even if I didn't like, I knew a guy who liked knives, crazy about knives. I'm like, whatever about knives. But just listening to him show me his knife collection, even though it was creepy and scary because it was so big, I really was into it. Like you with sports also, you're so passionate about it. If you, like I said, the knife guy, I'm not in the knife, but he was so into it that he got me into it. I was like,
Rico, did he ever say it puts the lotion on while he was showing you the knives? That's what serial killers do.
You know what? Listen, if you're a serial killer and you're passionate about it, I'm on board. It's one of those things that, you know what? It gives people with crazy passion have this energy that I feel like I've always had to just throw the hook on and pull it along for a while. That's why out here in LA, it's great because people have such passion for acting, writing, like it's their life. Like they've made the choice to be like, I will live poor or I'm going to be big and be great because I love what I'm doing. So I think that whenever you find a friend who's got passion, no matter what that passion may be, short of being a serial killer, you jump on, you get on.
And listen, if you're going to be a serial killer, be the best serial killer of all time.
Exactly. If you're going to do it right.
Right. Listen, people are agreeing with you. You know, whatever it is, just love. And let me just say one thing, George. There's no spoiler alert. If you just go to Google, season 3 hasn't come out yet. There are all rumors that Allie's going to come back. There are rumors like that. So I mean, so I didn't. It hasn't. It's not a spoiler alert because it hasn't come out yet. So you know, that's I'm not ruining anything for. I wrote an article about Cobra Kai.
Yes, yeah,
I wrote an article about it, and people are like,
to jump into Cobra Kai is when you wrote an article. I said, "Oh wow, he's passionate about Cobra Kai. I'm doing it. I'm all in on Cobra Kai because Monte wrote an article. I'm not even kidding."
Okay, Rico, before we let you go, always a bridesmaid, never a bride. People want to congratulate you on. He didn't win the award. You were nominated for Best Actor. Correct. Talk about that.
Yeah, I was nominated for for the Method Film Festival. I was nominated 2 different times for a short that I did, and I didn't win again. But as every person who's been nominated not win, I thought I was better than both, even though the guy who did win was my co-star, and he was great. And, you know, it's one of those things when you watch, yeah, I didn't win, but we were also nominated for Best Short Film. And, you know, you do something, you don't know what's going to happen, and you're so critical of yourself. Like when I watch it, I'm like, it's good. But then you know what? It's what the fans say, and the people who watched it liked it, and especially these 2 different festivals. The Monthly Film Festival nominated me also, and you know it's tough to look at yourself from the outside and think that, you know. But whatever.
Rico, I will say this: you can tell me because it's just between me and you. Were you a little annoyed that he beat you out for Best Actor? Were you a little annoyed?
I was a little surprised, more than annoyed. Because I didn't think either of us were going to win. Because I saw all the other films, and there was one particular one. I was like, "Wow, that guy was really good." But then watching in hindsight, I was like, "You know what?" I was like, "My guy, you know, he was good. Joshua Nazareth, he was really good." And it made it funny because they butchered his last name when they announced him as the winner, and they couldn't have said it more wrong. His last name is Nazareth, and they just it was great. It was good. I was happy to be part of somebody who won.
Are you going to say like just being nominated is an honor, or you're like, screw that, I want to win? If you ain't first, you're last, Ricky Bobby.
I'm more screw that, I want to win type of guy. You know, I'm one of those. So, like I said, every person who's been nominated, if deep down they're saying they didn't want to win, they're just lying out loud.
Exactly. All right, Rico, want to thank you so much. Listen, no more joking around. Next week, we start doing, you give us 3 picks every week on who to bet on. You give us some fantasy football picks, and then we're starting to do the show on Tuesday night. So from here on in, no more playing around. We get down to business. There you go. Okay.
I'm excited, boy. Excited. Get the energy.
Please don't ever make that. Did you do the dance? Let me see the dance you were doing before.
This dance, the punch dance?
Yeah.
Or the pepper shake dance.
Wow. Okay, Rico, we're going to leave you with that. Thank you so much. Love having you on. Good luck with your fantasy football draft. And we will see you next week, my friend, when the season actually starts. Thanks so much, Rico. That was Rico. Show me the money, Graziano. Always does a tremendous job. So thanks, Rico, for that. Listen, I want to thank everyone for tuning into the show. I want to thank our guest, Ori Hicks. I want to thank Eric Scharf. I want to thank all of you for tuning in. And before I do my last extra point before the season starts, again, guys, if you want to get rid of chronic pain, go to biowavego.com. That's biowavego.com. Use the code BOLTS and let them know that Monte sent you. We all know someone who has chronic pain, who's suffering. This could help a great deal. And again, I don't take sponsors to my show lightly. I will only promote and talk about something that I believe they're trying to help people. Again, biowavego.com. And now it's time for Monte's extra point. Okay, so here is Steve Nash. Steve Nash was a great player for the Dallas Mavericks, the Phoenix Suns, ended his career with the Los Angeles Lakers. Steve Nash just got hired by the Brooklyn Nets. Now, for those of you who don't know who the Brooklyn Nets are going to win 60 games next year in their sleep. They have Kyrie Irving coming back from an injury. They have Kevin Durant, who won 2 titles with the Golden State Warriors. They have Spencer Dinwiddie, DeAndre Jordan. Okay, they have a ton. If you saw what they did in the bubble with literally no talent because those guys weren't playing, they're going to be great. But here's the problem. So Steve Nash gets the job, and I love the hire. Why? Because Steve Nash is all about ball movement. He's all about giving up a good shot for a great shot. The Knicks hired Tom Thibodeau. Tom Thibodeau is straight out of the 1980s. He wants to have games in the score to be 85-83, where Steve Nash wants to get up and go, the modern day NBA, just ball movement, a lot like Steve Kerr has done for the Golden State Warriors. Now, Mark Jackson used to coach the Golden State Warriors before Steve Kerr. Now Mark Jackson is the announcer for ABC and ESPN with Jeff Van Gundy. People are like, oh, how come Mark Jackson didn't get the job? Mark Jackson has never won. Okay? Mark Jackson is, I think, 121. Let me see here. Mark Jackson is 121 and like 110 as a head coach. 121 and like 110. Those aren't the exact numbers, but it's around there. So I'm close enough. They're also talking about Tyronn Lue. Tyronn Lue does have the respect of LeBron James, but when LeBron James left, they fired Tyronn Lue in Cleveland. So don't tell me I don't like retreads as coaches. I don't like it. Mark Jackson has never won. Now, I'm not saying Mark Jackson can't win, but I think Steve Nash was the right choice here. And more importantly, Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant thought that Steve Nash was the better hire because they pretty much picked him. They pretty much picked him to be their coach. So stop with this anger about Mark Jackson. He's never won. Stop with this anger about Tyronn Lue. Tyronn Lue is an assistant now. He won an NBA championship. He went to the finals, but he never did anything without LeBron James. So let's just stop. Let's just stop with that. Okay, Steve Nash, the right hire. Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, seal of approval. Watch Steve Nash do great things with, the Brooklyn Nets. I think Steve Nash is going to be the next Steve Kerr, and it's the right hire. Again, I want to thank everyone for tuning in. I want to thank all of you for joining the Full Monty Sports Show. I know the Labor Day weekend, things are going crazy. People are running around. So thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next Sunday. And in the immortal words of Arnold Schwarzenegger, I'll be back.